Just as she resolved to keep her distance, Cody came rushing at her in an inflatable duck, nearly knocking her over. He zoomed past her, bumping into corners, not even slowing down. Vanessa shouted after him, trying to get him to stop. She chased him into the courtyard and found a large pool surrounded by sun loungers. There, reclining under the sun, was Mr. Paralan. Vanessa paused at the sight of him. His lean, muscular figure and relaxed demeanor caught her off guard. Oscar explained that today was their pool day, nothing else was happening. After what had happened the night before, he needed a break. He told her how, in the middle of the night, he had spotted a suspicious car near the gate again. It was the third time that week. Oscar had drawn a map, tracking every incident, and slowly a clearer picture was forming. After glancing at the map again, he laughed, thinking maybe he was overdoing it. Still, he went to reassure his son, who wanted to spend more time with him. Oscar promised Cody they would relax together tomorrow. As they lounged by the pool, Vanessa still didn't understand why today of all days had been chosen. After all, the pool was always there. She watched as Cody launched himself into the water with a cannonball, sending splashes everywhere. Vanessa was almost soaked. Seizing the chance, she asked Oscar again for system access. She wanted to begin vulnerability analysis and draft recommendations. But Oscar just grinned and said she didn't understand anything. He leaned in closer and repeated, "Today is pool day. No work." Then he stepped into the water himself. Vanessa still couldn't see what this had to do with her. She wasn't part of their family. Just then, Adam appeared, realizing this was Vanessa's first time seeing such an event. She asked if it was on the schedule, but he explained that pool days were completely random. He handed her a towel, saying he brought it just for her and that she should join in. Her uniform, he said, would be too hot, she ought to change. Vanessa turned back to Oscar, feeling she couldn't just sit quietly near him. She explained to Adam that she had a lot of work. But the driver leaned in and told her that once someone crossed into the pool area on a pool day, they didn't just go back. Vanessa didn't understand the strange rule, but that was the whole point of pool day. Adam continued explaining that Oscar and Cody would eat and even sleep by the pool. Just then, Mrs. Kenneth appeared, assuming Vanessa had agreed to join without ever stepping over the threshold. Of the pool area, she tossed a neatly folded set of swimwear toward Vanessa with a triumphant smile and said, "I took the liberty of choosing your size. You'll feel much more comfortable in this." Vanessa caught the bundle reflexively and blinked, unsure whether she should be impressed or alarmed at how precisely everyone seemed to anticipate her involvement in the day's bizarre ritual. She looked around. Oscar was already back in the pool, swimming slow, powerful laps, while Cody floated nearby on an inflatable crocodile, shouting for his father to watch his tricks. With no other choice and all exits blocked by expectation, Vanessa sighed and retreated to the changing area. Inside, she stared at the swimsuit, practical, dark blue, modest by all means. Someone had clearly done their homework. She muttered to herself, "You have got to be kidding me," then started changing. After a while, standing in her swimsuit, Vanessa realized that her plans to get answers that day had failed, so she decided to try to get along with Cody instead, hoping he would not be so alien to her. Approaching the water, she saw the boy holding 3 rings in his hands and invited her to play again. Oscar, meanwhile, sipping coffee, watched with interest the actions of his son and his nanny. Vanessa was ready to jump into the water and decided to do it with a little effect. The next moment she cut through the air with her hands and rapidly descended into the water. Paralan watched with curiosity as the girl made her jump head down. A few seconds later, after the nanny disappeared underwater, she emerged holding a ring in her hand. Cody immediately asked if his father had seen it, and Oscar nodded affirmatively. Then the boy told the nanny that he would be able to get the next ring first. The next moment they were both underwater, each trying to reach the ring as quickly as possible. When they surfaced, the boy noticed that he was definitely missing something while underwater, carried away by the capture of the ring. The nanny managed to pull the duck circle from him and even teased him in a childish way, trying to play, but this only made the boy angry. Still, she did not separate him from the duck and soon joined the owner to sunbathe on a sunlounger. Oscar noticed that they were having fun. Vanessa noticed that the boy had quite a lot of energy, and while the adults were resting, Cody continued to splash in the water, not wanting to get out at all. Then Oscar remembered how recently the girl was very eager to gain access to his security system. This seemed a little suspicious to him because he decided the nanny had ulterior motives to get closer to him. From such words, Vanessa even stopped chewing her sandwich because the boss himself promised to give her full access. After listening to the girl, Oscar sprawled on a chaise lounge like a model and asked if such full access was enough for her. It was definitely a joke on his part, but Vanessa, who knew him to be serious, couldn't believe he was joking. For a moment, she even thought that her boss had been replaced and now a completely different person was sitting in front of her. Adam, the driver, reappeared on the doorstep and asked the boss to talk to him. The driver never bothered Oscar just like that, and he immediately got up to find out what had happened. Vanessa thought that after all the turmoil, Mr. Paralan would just leave, and so did Cody. Adam briefly explained the matter and advised that the boss needed to see it himself, but Oscar could not leave because it was pool day. Then he heard the words of his son, who also advised him to go. Mr. Paralan was even a little glad that his son understood him and was not angry, so he agreed. Before leaving, he turned to Vanessa and asked her to look after the boy. Then he disappeared behind the doors. The girl noticed that her boss looked a little frightened. Vanessa was well aware that something had happened and something was not good, but she didn't know what it was. Presently, Mr. Paralan, following the driver, headed toward one section of the fence near the gate. At the same time, he questioned Adam if he had time to see the license plate of the car which again stopped at his house. The driver admitted that at the moment he was in the kitchen but was sure those people had been watching for a long time. When Oscar reached the place, he saw a gutted teddy bear covered in blood hanging on the bars of the fence. He asked Adam to check for explosives or surveillance devices and to dispose of the toy later. Meanwhile, Vanessa noticed that the boy was still sad and suggested they dive for the rings again. Cody got tired of the game, so the nanny offered to come up with some new entertainment. Vanessa decided to guess his favorite things, and if she made a mistake, Cody could push her into the water. Although the game seemed silly to the boy, the girl decided to play anyway and offered to start with his favorite animal. Cody stared questioningly, and the nanny made a thoughtful look before guessing the giraffe, but it wasn't the animal Cody liked. He playfully pushed the babysitter into the pool. It seemed the boy was beginning to like the game, and he offered to guess his favorite food next. The girl was sure she knew this because she was his nanny after all and couldn't help but know. After going through all the dishes the boy ate with appetite, she guessed asparagus, but this time Vanessa was wrong. Cody pushed her into the water again, this time with even more enthusiasm. The girl somersaulted into the pool while pretending to be significantly hit by the boy's push. This made Cody laugh even more, and he no longer tried to hide his childish laughter. Then he confessed to the nanny that she was not as bad as he had thought before. The girl noticed Mr. Paralan behind him and realized he had not returned to continue bathing. Noticing the babysitter's gaze, Cody also turned around and was very glad his father had returned, but he still needed Vanessa. Mr. Paralan offered to call Adam to his son if he wanted to continue swimming. The girl was quick to get out of the water, especially since she was interested herself. She immediately asked the boss what had happened, but he did not want to talk about it in front of his son. Taking a towel from his neck, he threw it in the nurse's face and ordered her to come to his office in 10 minutes, dry. Given how much time she had, Vanessa knew she wouldn't have time to go to her room to get ready. Cody shared with the babysitter that Adam wouldn't agree to swim with him because he didn't like to wet his hair. The girl found this interesting and had a few thoughts flashing through her head. Then she leaned over to the boy and asked him to tell her his favorite food. Although he did not understand why she needed it, Vanessa smiled sweetly and explained she was going to cook dinner and wanted to pamper the little one with a treat. Cody admitted he really liked a frozen dessert similar to ice cream but also containing berries and nuts. The girl realized that this kid had beaten her but promised to get him the dish. He ran to change clothes, satisfied. 10 minutes later, Vanessa was knocking on the chief's office door, and he loudly invited her in. Mr. Paralan was sitting at his desk, looking at something on his laptop with a very serious face. He asked the nanny to come over and look at one of the camera recordings made about an hour ago. The girl could not believe there were cameras on the mansion's territory because she had not seen any. Oscar explained the cameras were only outside, but she wasn't sure if he was telling the truth. However, now she had a chance to gain access to the system, although she did not imagine it that way. Looking at the video, the girl realized there had been an intrusion on the property. She saw a very creepy shot that scared her genuinely. On the monitor, a bloody teddy bear was clearly visible hanging on the fence. The nurse immediately determined this was nothing more than a threat, and Mr. Paralan fully agreed. The girl also suggested this was a threat to Cody, which was why she was there to protect him. Vanessa had no doubts about her abilities and was ready to deal with the situation. At the same time, she noticed the boy's toy was not on the fence, meaning those people did not get into the house. She offered to look at the rest of the cameras, assuming someone might still be exposed. After a while, they saw a muscular man on the laptop screen holding a bear in his hands. The nanny noticed something and asked the boss to zoom in on the villain's shoulder. Even at maximum zoom, the image was not very high quality, but the girl admitted she knew a suitable program. Oscar gave her a laptop, and she immediately got to work. Without noticing, a drop of water rolled off her hair onto Oscar's shirt. He thought the nanny hadn't dried her hair well enough. Vanessa did not pay attention to this. Almost a minute later, she had everything ready. She enlarged the image, and now it was possible to see the tattoo on the criminal's shoulder. The nanny knew such tattoos were done in Russian prisons after 2 terms of imprisonment. Oscar thought her knowledge incredible but found it incredible that he had made enemies in just a month. The girl suggested that the Dawn Mafia Paralan had some significant problems with the Russians. She also assumed her boss had broken into their territory without knowing it or that he had something they needed. When the nanny asked again what he had forgotten in Chicago, he explained he only made acquaintances and influenced people. Still, the girl was not joking. Mr. Paralan decided it was his turn to ask questions. He was very curious how the nanny could know so much about organized crime. He began to seriously question her about where she got such knowledge that went beyond her duties as a nanny. The girl stammered, realizing she had unwittingly revealed too much and now had to excuse herself. She began by saying she had done research before accepting the job offer, but Oscar did not believe it because no more than an hour had passed. Vanessa backed up her words by saying many things were already known to everyone and she had read about them. Mr. Paralan could not stand it anymore and banged his fist on the table because it concerned his field of activity. Then he asked the girl again, and she admitted they had been taught this in an elite academy. Oscar still did not believe the nanny and grew more suspicious every minute. Grabbing the frightened Vanessa by the shoulders, he demanded she tell the truth or he would kick her out. He added he would never allow his son to be protected by a deceiver. The girl understood this was a decisive moment and she had to say something to her boss. At the same time, Oscar must not find out she was investigating the murder of her parents. Mr. Paralan squeezed her shoulders even harder and gave her 5 seconds to answer. Vanessa thought she could put him on his shoulder blades right then, but it would end in defeat for herself. After all, she would be immediately fired and no longer able to find answers to her troubling questions. In a slightly trembling voice, she admitted to Oscar that she could get into big trouble later. He did not understand that Vanessa could be threatened more than he was and asked for an explanation. The nanny admitted there would be problems with the law, the academy, and everyone in general, and it would end badly for her. Mr. Paralan still did not believe the girl and assumed she was a member of some gang. Vanessa did not expect this and was even surprised her boss could think such a thing about her. He continued that the nanny was in a syndicate or worked for competitors and was now spying on him. Vanessa cried out in fright that she was just a freelancer. Oscar realized this girl was a mercenary. The girl determined her boss did not quite understand her. Trying not to laugh, she lowered her head. The nanny continued her story that she was a freelance hacker and sometimes did something illegal. She added that such people were called black hackers who really needed money. Then she said that despite all her actions, no one was hurt. At that moment Oscar recalled the day his son was kidnapped and how Vanessa had cleverly helped locate him. Vanessa began explaining that her work wasn't so difficult if you knew the right places to look. She made it clear she didn't directly involve herself with criminal groups, syndicates, or gangs, but rather gathered information through darknet forums, where details about criminal organizations were abundant. Oscar asked if Vanessa's headmistress knew about this, and she requested he not tell Barbara. Watching his expression, Vanessa realized he was beginning to trust her again. He promised secrecy, though his face held an intensity that made Vanessa uneasy, and rightly so. Immediately after, Mr. Paralan asked Vanessa to find someone for him. She hoped the task wouldn't be hard and asked who exactly he wanted. Without a word, Oscar handed her a laptop displaying the criminal's image. Vanessa needed a copy of the video footage to work effectively. Oscar gave her a tablet with all necessary files and told her he'd watch after his son himself. Leaving the office, Vanessa thought he trusted her too quickly, but she was willing to take any job he gave in exchange for his silence. The tablet was connected to his network, something not everyone would risk giving a hacker, and Vanessa suspected it was another test. She unlocked the device and noticed a program recording everything she did. She decided not to disappoint Oscar and prepared to perform the task, treating it as a performance more than a challenge. Meanwhile, in the south of the country, Johnny's trusted employee Simon nervously knocked on his boss's office door. Simon reported problems, but Johnny initially thought he was complaining about his outfit. He wasn't. Spitting out seed husks into a jar, Johnny listened as Simon explained that a mirroring program had detected unusual data activity. Johnny suspected Oscar had found their spyware. Though Johnny doubted Oscar's tech skills, Simon warned that the background programs on Oscar's tablet could reveal a lot. Johnny was not worried. He had trained his nephew well and believed Oscar would not interfere. He banged the jar lightly but remained calm, confident Oscar would not jeopardize him. Back with Vanessa, she began setting up a facial recognition scanner based on European Union standards, planning to expand it as needed. She was confident the mask worn by the villain wouldn't fool the system. Even hidden identities eventually show up on cameras. While the search ran, Vanessa checked on Cody. Almost immediately, a match was found. Surprised by the speed, she examined the results. The suspect was writhing in various poses on camera and had a Facebook account openly posting videos and photos. Vanessa found this bold and suspicious, so she dug deeper. Outside, Cody watched the street curiously, noticing Mrs. Kenneth cleaning with a rag. Adam grabbed Cody by the collar, warning him not to meddle where he shouldn't. The boy broke free and ran off, planning to investigate the duckling case further. Vanessa continued researching when she heard Oscar's voice. Turning, she saw him holding a plate of food. He explained she had missed dinner, but Vanessa was more concerned about Cody eating well. Oscar assured her Mrs. Kenneth was looking after his son. Then Vanessa showed Oscar the suspect photos. The villain's tattoo was missing in the latest pictures. Oscar was skeptical, but Vanessa insisted it was the same man. The tattoo was new and still healing, explaining its absence. The man's body structure matched perfectly. Vanessa proposed the man knew he'd be caught on camera, so he faked the tattoo or hid it. Oscar realized the man had deliberately provoked a gang conflict. Vanessa added that the suspect was born in Tijuana, linking him to the Mexican group Oscar had nearly finished negotiating with. Upset, Oscar now saw the man as a two-faced traitor. He asked Vanessa to track the suspect's location, which she did quickly. Oscar felt reassured he'd made the right decision hiring her. Vanessa admitted she only took the job because the headmistress insisted. When she questioned why Oscar chose her, he told her to figure it out herself. She noted he'd accused her of lying, despite knowing her capabilities. Oscar explained her resume only mentioned network security, not her hacking skills. Their conversation was interrupted by Cody, who stormed in demanding answers. Adults reassured him nothing was wrong, but Cody was unconvinced, visibly upset. He threw the duckling toy on the floor and asked why Adam wouldn't let him outside. He noticed Mrs. Kenneth cleaning the main gate and saw 2 guards at the back door instead of 1. Oscar explained Adam kept Cody safe, the second guard was training, and Mrs. Kenneth was just cleaning. Vanessa noted Oscar's tone about her wasn't kind, but Oscar took Cody in his arms, stating his duty was to protect his son above all. Oscar then asked Vanessa to confirm his words, recalling Barbara's warning that Vanessa must prioritize and protect Cody and obey her superior. Though reluctant, Vanessa confirmed everything. She knew she must protect Cody, even if it played into Oscar's hands. Alone, Vanessa returned to work, sitting at her laptop late into the night. When ready, she knocked softly on Oscar's door. He promptly opened and asked what she found. Vanessa reported that all locations where the suspect had been seen were unrelated to his house or legal business, which suited Oscar's plans. He was already plotting, marking locations on his investigation board. She wanted to coordinate drawing classes for Cody the next day, believing he had talent. Oscar agreed and sent Adam with them. Vanessa expected a train ride, but Oscar insisted on his way. Outside, Oscar noticed Vanessa's softened attitude toward him but didn't dwell on it. He needed her focused. The next morning, Vanessa was in the kitchen preparing apples when Oscar appeared, asking for coffee. Not finding Mrs. Kenneth, Vanessa offered to make it herself. While cooking, she shared news about Mexican weapons caches lost overnight. Oscar smiled mysteriously, suggesting Vanessa might not find such news interesting, but quickly reassured her he had no involvement and lacked resources for such operations. Vanessa doubted but listened as Oscar confessed he had contacts with Grandmother Ivanova, a powerful figure managing organizations in Western Europe. This surprised Vanessa, knowing the reach Ivanova had. Oscar also told Vanessa that Russians were very sensitive about their tattoos. After coffee, Oscar left for his drawing classes with Cody. Vanessa pondered the man's extensive connections.